In this tip, we're going to be discussing some search tips when searching for a person, and also when you are analyzing the information that you received, how you can draw the best conclusions. First of all, this is very important. Regardless of what you're searching for, what articles you find, please write down the title of the newspaper, the date of publication, and the page number where you found the article. And this is key, at the time that you find the article. So whether the page is saved as a PDF or a clipping is saved as a JPEG or other image format, make sure that you write down the title of the newspaper, the date of publication, and the page number. This is for several reasons. One, it's called a citation. You want to be able to do that at the time because I can tell you from personal experience, I have clippings in my database, if you will, of all clippings and all images that I found from newspapers, and I did not write that information down, and I have no clue where to find it. So if 5 years from now I'm looking at that clipping and it becomes important to what I'm doing, I don't know where to reproduce it. And if someone were to look at my information 50 years from now, they aren't going to be able to know either because I didn't record it. So make sure that you record that. Another interesting tip is sometimes the final resting place of a person who passed away is not accurate in the obituary. Here's a couple of reasons. One, the obituary might say that they're being buried at such and such a cemetery. Well, maybe in the 2 or 3 days since they died, the family decided to not use that cemetery, use another one. But a more frequent situation is that cemeteries close and the remains are moved to another cemetery. So the obituary will record it at the time that they are buried, or near the time, in 2 or 3 days typically. But that may not be their final resting place, especially if the cemetery is closed and their remains were moved. Another interesting thing that happens is that you might have information in a newspaper about divorces that were filed, or in the interim an interlocutory decree was made. Those aren't divorces. Only when divorce is granted, only when they're listed in that section, are the divorces actually did occur. So if you weren't sure if someone was divorced or not, make sure to consider this piece of information. Similarly, same is true for a marriage. Oftentimes you'll see a section in the newspaper called marriage licenses issued. It'll have the name of their prospective bride, prospective groom, possibly their addresses, their ages, and that just means that they got a license. It doesn't mean they got married. So I've had a couple of situations in my family tree where people had a marriage license, but they never got married. So issuance of a license is not a marriage. When you're searching for newspaper titles, don't just limit it to the local small paper area, in most cases, where they resided. Span out a bit. Go to the county seat, maybe a larger newspaper, maybe 15 or 20 miles away. There's a likelihood that there's articles not only in the local paper, but in the larger paper a little bit away from where they resided. And remember, this crosses state borders, so you may live in a city that's 5 miles away from another state. So don't just restrict your search to the the state of residence, because a larger paper near the border of another state may have the information that you're looking for. Here's a couple of examples: Council Bluffs, Iowa, and Omaha, Nebraska, Camden, New Jersey, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They're very close to one another, so articles may be in either one of the places, even if it is not the state where the person resided. Human interest articles were often copied to other places. I've got an ancestor who for some reason was given Geronimo's knife in the 1880s in Southern California, and the article was written, and I actually found that article copied in Pennsylvania, Virginia, Indiana, and London, England, published as a human interest story. So take that into consideration. You never know where some of these crazy stories might end up. Also, don't just search for articles for the dates when the ancestor was alive. Often newspapers have a section said 10 years ago this happened, and they might have 3 or 4 human interest stories in the list, or 25 years ago this happened. So this is something that you want to take advantage of as well. When you're searching for obituaries, even when you find the first one, maybe 2 days or 1 day after they died, keep searching, because I have several instances where I've done some searching, and say the person died on a Tuesday, the first obituary showed up on Thursday, but on the Friday's paper, the obituary again was published, but it was different. And that was because maybe there was a stepdaughter or a stepson or somebody else in the family who was forgotten when they originally wrote the obituary. Maybe they did it on purpose, who knows. But so you need to continue to search for a few days after you find that first obituary. It might have changed. And don't just limit your search to the location of the person's death. Say, for example, someone lived in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for 40 years and moved to northern New York, and then a year later they died. Well, there might be an obituary or a story in the northern New York paper, but oftentimes people would copy their obituary and have it published in the place where they lived for a long time. So you might see obituaries in different places, and they might be different. You never know. So take that into consideration. Bottom line is, there's a lot of tips here that will help you not only to find more articles, but also to draw the proper conclusions about the content of the articles so that your conclusions are accurate. So take these into consideration when you're searching for a person or searching for information about a person. And I will repeat again, please make sure that you write down the name of the newspaper, the date of the newspaper, and the page number where you got the clipping or newspaper page from. You'll be so happy that you did that, because when you go back later, you'll have that information readily at your fingertips.